I am Violet, 31 years old, living in Ohio. If anyone asked what makes my family so chaotic, I would answer without hesitation. My younger sister, Chloe. It may sound ordinary, but Chloe has a twisted habit. Whenever she sees someone happy, she finds a way to ruin it, then excuses herself by saying, "You don't understand. I lost the one true love of my life." And that so-called one true love Chloe always brings up is a guy named Lucas, a man she met only once at a college party nearly 7 years ago. It started when Chloe had just turned 22. That night I remember clearly. She bragged to me that she had touched destiny. A dorm party, a few cheap beers, a rush dance, and then a quick kiss in a narrow hallway. Lucas never called back. For anyone else, it would have been a fleeting memory. But for Chloe, it became a tragic love story she used to justify every wrong action afterward. The first victim was Madison, Chloe's best friend since elementary school. They practically grew up together, to the point where Madison considered Chloe a sister. Yet, after just one weekend of Chloe staying over, by Monday, Madison's boyfriend was already sending Chloe good morning texts. When Madison found them together in her own bed, Chloe shamelessly said, "You don't understand, he reminds me of Lucas. Losing a soulmate is unbearable." Madison sobbed, packed up her things, and ended the friendship for good. It didn't stop there. 2 years later, at our cousin's engagement party, Chloe showed up in a deep red dress that cost nearly as much as my monthly apartment rent at the time. She got drunk, staggered into the bathroom where the groom was washing his hands, and as he later recounted, she pressed close to his face and whispered, "You remind me of someone. He was my destiny." Thankfully, the groom immediately pushed her away and told his fiancée everything. The entire party turned into a fiasco. But Chloe returned home, sobbing, telling our parents, "Seeing happy couples makes me ache because I remember Lucas." What infuriated me most was my parents' reaction. My mother didn't scold her. Instead, she booked Chloe a weekend spa trip, saying she needs healing. My father stayed silent, brushing it off as something trivial. Meanwhile, I knew deep down Chloe was just using a fabricated story to legitimize her selfishness. As years passed, Chloe never dropped that facade. Every time someone in our circle found new love, she tried to wedge herself in. If caught, she instantly claimed, "He reminds me of Lucas." And terrifyingly, many in the family still believed it, or at least pretended to, just to avoid confronting the truth. I often asked myself, how could a fleeting encounter become an excuse to destroy an entire web of relationships? Yet Chloe clung to it or chose to believe it so she could grant herself the right to wreck others. Worse, everyone let her. Madison lost a lifelong friend. Our cousin nearly lost his marriage. And how many more people would be dragged into the spiral called Chloe's one true love? I once hoped time would make her mature. But the older she got, the better she became at playing the victim. A few tears, and my mother instantly believed her youngest daughter was too fragile and needed protection. And me, the eldest child, could only stand by, biting my lip, forced to endure it all. When I turned 30, I met Ryan. He was 2 years older than me, a civil engineer living in the suburbs of Columbus. We met at a reunion, and I was surprised by how easily I could share everything with him, something rare for me. Ryan wasn't the movie-style romantic type, but his patience and stability made me trust him. From the very beginning, I knew I couldn't let Chloe know about him. I understood too well my sister's habit. So for nearly 2 years, I kept Ryan away from family dinners, avoided bringing him home, and even limited posting our photos on social media. Friends often asked why I had to live so secretively, but I knew the more I kept it hidden, the better chance this relationship had to survive. Everything went smoothly until last spring, when Ryan proposed with a simple gold ring, not flashy but filled with sincerity. We planned a small ceremony, around 60 guests, just close friends, I truly believed happiness was finally within reach. My mistake was mentioning it at my mother's birthday dinner. While raising a glass to toast, I carelessly let slip the news of our wedding. I still remember Chloe's face lighting up as if she had just won the lottery. She hugged me tightly, showering me with sweet words of congratulations, but her eyes gleamed with the very look I had feared my entire life. Only a week later, Ryan smirked as he handed me his phone, showing strange messages. A suspicious Instagram account was sending him nonstop texts, claiming to be an old college friend who just wanted to catch up. One glance and I knew it was Chloe. Her dramatic phrasing, her way of twisting emotions, it was unmistakable. Ryan and I read them together, laughed at how ridiculous they were, and he promised to block the account. I wanted to believe that was the end of it, but just 3 weeks before our wedding, disaster struck. That day, I was sick with the flu, lying weak in bed. Ryan said he'd be at a golf outing with friends and wouldn't be back until evening. I suspected nothing until I received a text from Allison, my best friend who lived near Chloe's apartment complex. Black Tesla, familiar plate? It's parked in Chloe's visitor lot. Blood rushed to my head. Feverish and trembling, I still grabbed my coat and drove there. I had a spare key Chloe once gave me for emergencies. My hands shook as I unlocked the door. What I saw nearly broke me. Brian sat on the couch, shirt unbuttoned, his hand tangled in Chloe's messy hair. Chloe's head rested on his lap, her eyes shimmering as if she had rehearsed her tears in advance. The moment she saw me, she began sobbing, whispering breathlessly, "I'm sorry. He just reminds me of Lucas." I couldn't control myself. I stood frozen. Ryan didn't even bother to stand up or explain. He just sat there, staring at me as if everything was already decided. I turned and stumbled out, my fever making my steps unsteady, while Chloe's cries behind me cut into my back like knives. Driving home, my breath was ragged, my heart racing. 2 years of carefully guarding my secret had crumbled in an instant. All my precautions meant nothing against Chloe's relentless obsession. And Ryan, the man I trusted, was too weak to resist temptation. That night, I burned every printed wedding invitation, locked the ring away in a box, and lay in bed shivering with fever, drenched in sweat. But inside, I was colder than ever. From that moment on, I knew Chloe hadn't just stolen my fiancé, she had stolen the last shred of trust I had left in my family. After the night I saw Ryan and Chloe sitting close together on that sofa, I knew one thing. If I just walked away in silence, Chloe would keep destroying anyone I loved. She had already ruined Madison's friendship, humiliated the family at our cousin's engagement party, and now stolen the man I was about to marry. If I didn't fight back, it would only get worse. I thought of the name Chloe always muttered through her staged tears. Lucas, the man she bragged about as the only love of her life. I knew how absurd that story really was. A rushed kiss in a dorm hallway nearly 7 years ago, and then Lucas disappeared. But in Chloe's eyes, he became a monument. I opened Instagram and typed Lucas Martin. Within seconds, his account appeared. A 32-year-old physical therapist in Cincinnati. Nearly every photo featured a gentle-looking golden retriever. Scrolling through, I realized we had followed each other for years but had never spoken. I swallowed hard, then typed a message. "Hi, this may sound strange, but I'm Chloe's sister. My sister has been using you as an excuse to wreck my marriage. If you're willing, I need your help with something." Less than 15 minutes later, a notification popped up. "Chloe? My God. The same girl who once drove to my house pretending to know my mom? She even had tea with her and told her I was her destiny. It took me weeks to explain to my mother. What exactly do you want me to do?" Reading that, I was stunned, but also felt a surge of strength. Chloe hadn't just wrecked my life, she had dragged his family into her fantasy. I typed back firmly, simple. "You'll show up beside me, in front of my family." I want Chloe to see with her own eyes that her so-called true love never belonged to her, and is willing to hold my hand instead. A short pause, then Lucas replied with a laughing emoji. Fair enough. I've had enough of her obsession. Okay, Violet, I'm in, but we'll need to plan carefully. I don't want it to look like some cheap stunt. So we began talking regularly. By day, I went to work pretending everything was fine, but at night, Lucas and I messaged nonstop. He asked about Chloe's habits, how she reacted when challenged. I told him everything, the fiery look in her eyes when someone else was happy, the fake sobs, the cryptic posts online. Lucas jotted it all down as if preparing for a difficult patient. One Friday night, he called on video. When the screen lit up, I saw Lucas in a simple button-down shirt, smiling warmly. Next to him, his golden retriever lifted its head to the camera. This is Cooper, he introduced. For the first time in weeks, I laughed. He was nothing like the dazzling figure Chloe used to describe no drama, no flash. That's when I realized she had never really known who he was. How will we meet in person? I asked. Next week, I have a work trip near Columbus. I'll take a bus to stay under the radar, and you can pick me up at the station. Perfect. Just in time for my father's birthday. The whole family will be there. We went over every detail, what I would wear, how Lucas should act, his glances, his smile, the way he'd hold my hand. I wanted every gesture to pierce straight into Chloe's fantasy. Sometimes, in the middle of planning, I wondered, was I becoming as cruel as my sister? But every time I remembered Ryan sitting motionless, letting me crumble with a fever while Chloe fake cried, I clenched my fists. This wasn't just revenge, it was a lesson she had to learn. The day Lucas arrived, I drove to the bus station at noon. When he stepped off, tall and calm with an easy smile, my heart pounded not from attraction, but from knowing our plan was about to begin. He shook my hand firmly. Ready, Violet? He asked. I nodded, eyes fixed on the road leading to my parents' house. That evening, I stood before the mirror in a navy dress that hugged my frame, paired with new high heels. Lucas waited in the living room, adjusting his collar. As we walked out to the car, I took his hand. It felt strange, but also full of resolve. On the way, Lucas said quietly, Chloe will never see this coming. But remember, we're not just doing this to break her, we're taking back the justice she stole from you. I turned to look at him, the streetlights casting calm shadows across his face. I drove with Lucas to my parents' house in the suburbs of Dayton. It was my father's 65th birthday, and as usual, the whole extended family was gathered. On the way, Lucas and I rehearsed every detail, how he would hold my hand, how he'd call me by endearments, even the small stories we would tell to make everyone believe we were truly a couple. When the car stopped in front, I took a deep breath. Lucas looked at me with a steady smile. Just stick to the plan. Violet, you won't be alone. I nodded, then walked in with him. Laughter and chatter floated out from the living room. My mother came to greet us, briefly startled to see me holding hands with a man she didn't know. I smiled calmly. Mom, I want to introduce you to my boyfriend, Lucas. She froze for a moment, then forced a polite smile and greeted him. As we entered the living room, every eye turned toward us. And in that instant, I saw Chloe's face. She was standing near the buffet table, wine glass in hand, laughing with cousins. But when I spoke loudly, everyone, this is Lucas, my boyfriend, her smile vanished. The glass nearly slipped from her hand, and her knuckles gripped the edge of the table. Her face went from pale to crimson in seconds. I saw the shock in her eyes, the horror of watching the soulmate she had worshipped all these years walk in beside me, hand in hand. Lucas remained composed. He shook hands with relatives, greeted everyone politely, then slipped his arm around my waist. That simple gesture cut into Chloe like a blade. I sat beside him on the sofa, letting the curious, surprised stares wash over me. Chloe tried to regain composure, stepping forward with a forced laugh. Oh, what a coincidence. Lucas, long time no see. Lucas turned, nodded courteously. Hello, Chloe. Good to see you. His voice was calm, with no trace of special feeling. That only rattled her more. Dinner began. While the family toasted my father, Lucas kept his focus on me, calling me love and darling, serving food onto my plate, resting his hand on my shoulder now and then. His gestures looked natural, but I knew Chloe, sitting at the end of the table, was hiding her hands beneath it, nails digging into her skin. When I glanced up, I saw her biting her lip until it bled. Jealousy, anger, and despair showed through her carefully painted face. During dessert, my father stood to thank everyone. The atmosphere had been cheerful, but I noticed Chloe downing glass after glass. As soon as he finished speaking, she slammed her spoon onto the table with a sharp clang. Everyone turned. What are you trying to do? Chloe's voice was hoarse, her eyes bloodshot. The dining room fell silent. I raised an eyebrow. What do you mean? You brought him here. To flaunt? To taunt me? Her voice shook with suppressed rage. My mother flustered. Chloe, this is your father's birthday dinner. Please don't. But Chloe burst into tears, sobbing so hard the room froze. He's mine. I searched for him for years. You have no right. The air grew suffocating. I stood, walked toward her, and lowered my voice, every word sharp as ice. Chloe, look at the truth. Lucas was never yours. That story was something you invented to destroy. And today, you have no choice but to accept the game is over. Lucas spoke too, his tone firm. Chloe, we only met once. I never promised you anything. Please stop fooling yourself. Her breath came in gasps, her eyes filled with hatred. She threw her napkin down hard and ran upstairs, slamming the door. The room was dead silent. My father coughed, a few relatives shook their heads. My mother held her forehead and sighed. I turned back, took Lucas's hand. He gave me an encouraging smile. I sat down, head held high. For the first time, Chloe no longer controlled the room, no longer commanded the attention. That night, as we left my parents' house, Lucas leaned close and whispered, You did well. But trust me, this is only the beginning. Chloe won't let go easily. I looked at him, my heart both anxious and eager. He was right. The battle was far from over, and I was ready to see it through to the end. After my father's birthday party, the whole family was still buzzing about me bringing Lucas. I knew Chloe wouldn't let it go. She was used to being indulged, to shedding a few tears and being forgiven. But this time, Lucas and I had every step prepared. That same night, when we returned to my apartment in Columbus, we decided to go public. Lucas suggested we should let people see the truth. Not just inside your family, but out there too, where Chloe always plays the victim. I agreed, because social media was exactly where Chloe had built her perfect mask. The next morning, Lucas posted a photo of us taken right in front of my parents' house. His arm was around me, both of us smiling naturally. The caption was simple. Sometimes, happiness comes from the simplest things. Within minutes, the post got plenty of likes. Friends, coworkers, even distant relatives left congratulatory comments. I knew Chloe had seen it. Sure enough, an hour later, she appeared with a shocking comment. You know what you mean to me, Lucas. How can you pretend nothing ever happened? Lucas didn't hesitate. 15 minutes later, he replied directly, Chloe, we only met once at a college party. You followed me to the parking lot the next day, but I made it clear I wasn't interested. That wasn't love, it was obsession. The internet erupted. People who had known Chloe began leaving comments. I always thought her Lucas stories sounded like fiction, now it makes sense. Can't believe all these years it was just her imagination. Maybe it's time Chloe stopped playing the victim. I read each line with rising satisfaction. For years, Chloe had used Lucas as a shield to justify her selfishness. Now he himself had stripped everything bare. That afternoon, my phone filled with Chloe's voice messages. Between sobs, her voice cracked. What do you want from me? Why did you drag him to your side? You're destroying my life. I listened in silence, then typed one short reply. No, Chloe. You've been destroying yourself for years. He just showed everyone the truth. Then I blocked her number, but it didn't end there. 3 days later, Chloe posted a selfie, puffy eyes, dim lighting with the caption, "The worst pain is when your own family steals the only love of your life." The post quickly drew hundreds of sympathetic comments from people who didn't know the full story. A few mutual friends even reshared it with messages like, "Stay strong. I saw it and only laughed." Same old Chloe, always twisting the narrative to keep control. But this time, the difference was clear. The crowd wasn't buying it all. Beneath her post, more and more people pushed back. A high school friend wrote, "Enough, Chloe. Everyone remembers what you did to Madison and to the groom at the engagement party. Stop blaming one brief encounter." As the hours passed, more comments piled up, each one pulling at the cracks in her carefully polished image. Her glossy online facade was crumbling. Meanwhile, Lucas and I continued appearing openly. We had lunch with my friends, snapped photos with his dog Cooper, and shared simple daily moments. Each post gained warm support, while Chloe was increasingly pushed aside. One evening, Lucas tilted his head and asked, "Do you feel sorry for her?" I paused before answering, "Yes, but she chose this path, and now she has to live with the consequences." I knew public opinion wasn't everything, but for the first time in years, I felt balance. No one was buying Chloe's cheap excuses anymore. I knew sooner or later I had to face Chloe directly. Social media had exposed her, but inside the family, my parents still avoided the truth. My mother called me, her voice pleading, "Sweetheart, don't be so harsh. Your sister is just sensitive, easily hurt." My father only stayed quiet, sometimes muttering, "Don't make a scene at home." I had heard it all before, and I couldn't take it anymore. One Sunday morning, I drove to my parents' house. No warning. I wanted to end the days of being treated like I didn't exist. When I walked into the living room, Dad was reading the paper. Mom was peeling apples in the kitchen. Chloe was there too, slouched on the sofa, dark circles under her eyes, but with heavy lipstick to cover it up. I didn't bother with greetings. I set down my bag and looked straight at them. "We need to talk. Right now." The room stiffened. Dad frowned, annoyed. "Violet, this isn't the time." "No, Dad, this is exactly the time. Otherwise, it will never end." Chloe scoffed, forcing calm. "So you're making a big deal again? Just because Ryan chose me instead of you, stop." I cut her off, my voice so steady it startled even me. "Don't perform, Chloe. You didn't win love, you destroyed it. You've done it over and over with Madison, with our cousin, and now with me. You always use Lucas as an excuse for your selfishness. But it's nothing but a fantasy." Mom jumped in nervously. "Violet, don't speak so harshly. Your sister, she's been through pain." I snapped toward her. "Do you know what I went through? I was burning with fever in bed, while your daughter lay in the arms of the man I was about to marry. I walked in and saw it with my own eyes. And instead of defending me, you worried Chloe was sensitive. All these years, you've protected her, excused her, taught her that tears erase every mistake. And me? I was just the strong one who didn't need care?" My voice trembled not from weakness, but from rage long buried. Dad set down his paper, brow furrowed. "Daughter, don't turn this into a family tragedy. We need to keep our dignity." "Dignity?" I nearly laughed. "Did you think about my dignity when my wedding was destroyed by betrayal inside this house? Did you think about my humiliation when coworkers and friends asked why? You never stood by me. So let me be clear. I will no longer accept being the forgotten child." Chloe shrieked, cutting in, "You're just jealous. I have the charm, the things you'll never have. Ryan chose me, that's the truth." I locked eyes with her, my words sharp as blades. No, Chloe. Ryan didn't choose you. He was weak, and you exploited it. That wasn't love, it was hunger for attention. And you sacrificed this family for a cheap moment of satisfaction. The room fell into suffocating silence. Mom burst into tears, but this time I didn't soften. I stepped closer to Chloe. You wanted to see me broken, to prove you could take everything, but from now on you will live with the truth. Everyone sees who you are. And I will never bow to your fake tears again. Chloe trembled, lips moving without sound. Dad finally sighed, avoiding my eyes. I knew he wasn't ready to admit it, but he had no defense left. I grabbed my bag, stood tall. From now on, if this family wants me to stay, you must accept one thing. I'm not the backup daughter. I will protect myself, and I won't let anyone, not even my sister, destroy me again. With that, I walked out the door. My heart pounded, but my steps were firm. In that moment, I erased the role my parents had forced on me for years. And for the first time, I truly felt I had a voice in my own family. After the confrontation at my parents' house, Lucas and I grew closer. We no longer limited ourselves to family dinners. We began appearing together at public events. And that was when I clearly saw Chloe slowly lose the spotlight she had clung to for so long. The first event was the grand opening of an art gallery in downtown Columbus. A college friend of mine, now a rising painter, had invited me. I originally planned to go alone, but Lucas said we should go together. This is the perfect chance to show you're no longer living in Chloe's shadow. I agreed. That evening, I wore a simple black dress, and Lucas looked sharp in a fitted gray suit. As soon as we walked in, photographers snapped pictures. I overheard whispers. Is that Violet? She's changed so much. Of course, Chloe was there too. She showed up in a blazing red gown, makeup heavy, strutting like she was the star of the night. But when she saw me hand in hand with Lucas, her smile froze. Throughout the evening, Lucas stayed by my side. He chatted easily with guests, introduced me as his girlfriend, and occasionally placed a hand gently on my back. Meanwhile, Chloe tried desperately to grab attention, but most eyes were on us. The next day, an article about the gallery opening featured a photo of Lucas and me, captioned, "A captivating new couple in Columbus's art scene." Chloe's name wasn't mentioned, even though she had tried to edge into photos. I knew it must have driven her mad. A week later, we attended the wedding of a former neighbor's daughter. This was an event Chloe had been counting on to flaunt her fake connections. I'd heard she even asked the bride not to let me bring a date, claiming, "My sister loves making a scene." But the bride messaged me privately, "Please come with Lucas. We all want to support you." At the wedding, Lucas held my hand tightly as we entered the hall. Under the glow of lights and soft music, people smiled at us warmly. Chloe sat near the aisle, her eyes flashing when Lucas leaned down to kiss my forehead. That moment stays with me, the first time I truly felt the balance of power had shifted. During the first dance, the bride suddenly invited us to join. I hesitated, but Lucas whispered, "Trust me." He twirled me gracefully, holding me close as applause filled the room. I glanced sideways and saw Chloe on the sidelines, her expression twisted with frustration and helplessness. After the wedding, social media was filled with photos of Lucas and me dancing. Some comments read, "Didn't Chloe always say Lucas was her destiny? Looks like he found the real one." Chloe tried to fight back with cryptic posts like, "Some people need the spotlight to feel alive." I choose depth, but no one cared anymore. Instead, people brought up her past, the friendships she ruined, the engagement she nearly wrecked. Lucas saw it all and only smirked. "See, Violet? Sometimes the truth alone is enough to strip away every mask." I stayed quiet, but inside, relief washed over me. After years of being treated as my sister's shadow, I was finally free. The peak came at a charity gala sponsored by Lucas's architecture firm. It was a big event, attended by prominent figures in the city. Lucas brought me as his partner, and we even posed together on the red carpet. The local paper later published our photo with the caption, "Lucas Martin and his girlfriend Violet Harper, a couple drawing attention at the Winter Charity Gala." Meanwhile, Chloe was stuck in the back row, looking out of place. I overheard murmurs. "Chloe seems different from what she shows online." Little by little, the main character image Chloe had built for herself was slipping away. When we left the event, Lucas squeezed my hand firmly. "Do you realize it?" he asked softly. "This time no one saw you as the shadow. You're the one they see now." I smiled, tears pricking at my eyes. After the string of public events, my image with Lucas grew stronger while Chloe's faded. But I knew my sister would never sit quietly. Sure enough, weeks later, she tried to stage her old script again, painting me as the villain and herself as the victim. One Monday morning, I got a message from my mother. "Violet, can you come over tonight? We need to talk." The short words carried heavy pressure. I knew it had to do with Chloe. When I walked in, the whole family was gathered. My father sat in his armchair, stern-faced. My mother stood nearby, worried. Chloe was on the sofa, eyes red, hair loose, playing the part of someone fragile. She immediately spoke in a shaky voice. "You're destroying my reputation. Everywhere I go, people whisper, people look at me with contempt. I can't take it anymore." I folded my arms, staring straight at her. "Reputation? Chloe, you ruined it yourself. No one made this up, it's the truth." My mother rushed in. "Violet, don't say that. Your sister is in crisis. Please, just give in a little, can't you?" I laughed, a dry, bitter sound. "Mom, for years you've asked me to give in. When Chloe stole my friend, when she embarrassed the family, when she destroyed my engagement, when will you finally see that your excuses turned her into someone who thinks rules don't apply to her?" Chloe burst into sobs, screaming, "You never understood what it's like to lose true love. Lucas means everything to me, and you paraded him in front of me just to crush my heart." Lucas, calm by my side, spoke clearly. "Chloe, you need to hear this once and for all. We never had anything. I was never your true love. You followed me, lied to my mother, but it was all fantasy." The room fell silent. My father coughed, then finally said, "Chloe, I've overlooked too much, but I can't allow you to keep using love as an excuse to hurt others, especially your sister." Chloe's face drained of color. She turned toward our mother, searching for rescue. But for the first time, my mother couldn't meet her eyes. She stayed silent. I stepped forward, voice sharp and steady. "Chloe, from now on, I will no longer play the role of the forgotten daughter. I won't let you destroy and then cry your way out of it. If you want to salvage anything, you must face the only option left: take responsibility for what you've done." Chloe trembled, biting her lip. Then suddenly she bolted upstairs, slamming the door. My mother's tears fell, but she didn't speak. On the drive home, Lucas squeezed my hand and said quietly, "You did what the whole family has avoided for years. You forced them to face the truth." I nodded, eyes fixed on the dark road ahead. "Yes. But I know Chloe isn't done. She'll strike back. And I'll be ready." Inside me rose a strange mix of exhaustion and pride. For the first time, I wasn't in the shadows, wasn't my sister's reflection. My voice was heard, and it was loud enough that no one could ignore it. Yet deep down, I knew this was only the opening act. Chloe had never accepted defeat, and what lay ahead would be fiercer still. I had only one choice: keep moving forward, without fear, without retreat. And this time, I wasn't alone. Lucas was with me. Violet's story reflects a painful truth in modern life. Sometimes, family can be the ones who wound us the most. Her parents' constant excuses turned Chloe into someone selfish, always hiding behind true love to justify hurting others. But Violet stood her ground, exposed the truth, and refuse to stay the forgotten daughter. In real life, it's a reminder that only by setting firm boundaries can we reclaim fairness, freedom, and happiness for ourselves. What do you think about Violet's choice having the courage to stand up against her parents' favoritism and her sister's selfishness? Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to follow the channel for more dramatic and emotional family stories to come.